All right, so folks, you're listening to the Wrecking Crew Comedy Podcast. I'm Vito D'Amico, and we've got a guest all the way from Sweden, where I used to think they made the best porn because it was always like Swedish. It had that Swedish erotic. Yeah, I don't know if people remember that, but I used to say that and used to think, ooh, and the women in Sweden are absolutely beautiful, and that's why I'm talking to a male right now. We are talking to Sandre, right? Sandre?
Yeah, the Sandre guy.
The Sandre guy who has a really a fun show. In fact, you got a lot of subscribers, a lot of people that come on from all over the world. Yeah, you have. We were just a second ago talking about some of the guests you've had. You've had some pretty big guests. Why is first of all, say hi.
Hello.
And a lot of people were worried. They were thinking you were gonna. How do you say hello in Swedish?
Hello.
See, it's not even close, eh? So I wouldn't even know what the hell that meant. So um uh so yeah why do you think the show is so popular, and why you do you strive to have an eclectic show from people from all over the world? Uh, like what was the plan about having that the show? And the show is called Sandre. That's it, right?
Sandre streams.
Sandre's streams. So yeah, yeah. Check those out, and they're a lot of fun. A lot of the guests that you have on, I enjoy listening to them, and the conversations can get deep, which I love. Yeah, tell us about the show.
Okay. Basically, the entire idea of the stream was that it was supposed to be this bastion of free speech. Uh, I think people are way too fucking sensitive these days, and you need to allow people to have a vent of sorts. And that's essentially why I started my streams. And it turned out that I was a good host, apparently, according to what people say. I don't believe them. I don't think I'm that good of a host, to be honest. But okay, if they think I'm a good host, I guess I have to. I guess I have to accept that at least on an intellectual level. Uh, but the whole purpose of the streams are that it's supposed to be a way for my guests to vent. It's supposed to be you've heard of these free speech zones on college campuses in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
And I guess my streams sort of emulate that. Like, no matter how polite you may be in your videos or in your everyday life, I want you to be brutally honest in my streams. And essentially that's the entire purpose of the streams. Now, the result of that is usually, I would say that in 80% of the cases, we end up more or less verbally shit posting. We make jokes, and we talk about things from a sarcastic and snarky point of view. There's a lot of cynicism in the streams, usually. But I would say that in 20% of the cases, we actually end up having really deep discussions. And that's the point. I don't go into the streams to do any more than to moderate and to perhaps if I. The whole thing about being a host when it comes to these streams that I do, the only thing I do, even though it's hard enough in of itself, the only thing I do really is to make sure that if we are on a topic, that we stay on the topic. And I also try and find out if there is perhaps a topic to be had, so it's not just verbal shitposting, because that can actually be dull after a while. And also, if I notice that my guests are perhaps talking a bit too much and some of the guests aren't talking enough, I try to encourage them. And also, essentially, if I notice that the conversation is becoming stale, I try to either reinvigorate it, and if that doesn't work, I simply try to make a joke or change the subject in some manner. And it's it's a lot harder than people think. It's not easy doing a live stream like that. It's not like having a podcast where you can edit and make it seem like it was a lot more interesting than it actually was when you talked at that particular time. Uh, when you're doing a stream, you really are fucked if you don't have the ability to improvise on the spot, and that's something that I'm good at. I can't do these planned videos that some YouTubers do, like Sargon of Akkad or Micro or Vernaculus. They can make these very long and interesting videos and plan them really well and structure them really well. I can't do that. I've tried. It just doesn't work for me. I am the kind of person who needs to improvise, to come up with something on the spot, and I'm stimulated by it as well.
Yeah, there's that. Well, it's true. Yeah, when you're live streaming, it can. I always. I hate live streaming because well, you can't take back what you said, and which I mean, I never edit these shows, so I could. I really care, but I know it's kind of being taped, so in the back of my head. But when it's live streaming and you're into a topic, um, you could say shit that you're like, fuck, why did I, shit, I shouldn't have said it that way. Like people, there's so many times where, uh, uh, the way you say things, people could sit there and take them in so many ways. They could sit there at the end of the day and go, well, that was racist. And it's like, that's not my point. That's not what I meant. People could take what you say and, well, that's sexist. If you make a joke these days, that holy shit, wow, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? A lot of people don't, and there's the you're used to a Swedish way of dealing with people unless you've been around the world, and the French have their own sense of humor, the Dutch have their own sense of humor, the States have their own sense of humor. So when you are talking to people on a live stream, sometimes by making a joke or saying something that I'm very sarcastic, they could take it as oh fuck, he's being Islamophobic or
Well, thankfully, I just don't give a fuck.
yeah, no, that's
Like,
good. Like I get the comments afterwards, and it's just like, are you serious? Like, uh, like fuck, get a life.
yeah, that's the thing about me, and I guess I guess that's sort of why people like to stream too, because it's hard to tell sometimes if I am serious or if I am in fact joking. And I like that a little bit because then you can truly fuck with people, and that makes me feel really fucking good. Uh, I have all these running gags on my stream. Either it's about people that I have on the stream, or it's things that I apparently do, and people can't really tell if I'm serious or not. One of the running gags is that I have this huge lube collection, and I keep joking about it in almost every stream. And it's funny to think that if people think that I'm serious or not, because if they think I'm serious, then I know that person is a moron. If they don't take it serious, then I realize that this person actually has a sense of humor. He's cool.
Right.
Another one is about my girlfriend, who has been on the show a few times. She does have big eyebrows in real life. However, they're very adorable. Like it complements her face. It's not something that looks out of place. But of course, me and her, we joke about how huge they are. That she can flap with her eyebrows and fly and visit me here in Sweden, even though she lives in Great Britain.
Right.
But yeah, I have a lot of these running gags, and I try to sound sincere when I say them, just to fuck with people. And if they believe it or not, it's up to them.
Right. No, that's great. Wanted to. What happened last night? There was the biggest mass shooting in the U.S. I know we're jumping topics, but I had to talk. It just happened yesterday. What are your thoughts on that? On the have you've heard of the what happened in the States in Florida, where the
Yeah.
gunman came in, he shot, I believe he killed 50, and there's 53 in hospital right now, and massacred them at a gay nightclub. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't really say that I am surprised. I mean, if you look at the track record of Islam, this is sort of what you should expect. But Sandre, Islam is a religion of peace.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's definitely a religion of peace. There's a peace over there. There's a peace over there. Here's a peace.
yeah,
It's an old joke, but I like it. The thing about Islam is that it's not just these terror organizations doing actions directly that you have to fear. You also have these lone wolves, as they're called, who are inspired. And this seems to be one of those cases where you have a lone wolf who has been inspired by ISIS. And it's the same thing in San Bernardino in late 2015. And I mean, you keep having these incidents, as some people want to call them, terrorist actions, I would say. And you're only going to keep having them because the problem isn't guns, as the
yeah,
Democrats seem to think. It's not, that you take in Muslim people like the Republicans seem to think. The problem is that you have a religion that is deviant from many others because it's never gone through any kind of reformation like Christianity did in the. I would say that between the 1500s to the 1700s, Christianity went through an amazing reformation. Really, it's unprecedented when you think about it. It went from being a religion that's almost as bloody as Islam is today to be really innocuous in many ways. I mean, when you look at Catholic countries, for instance, they have about the same rate of believers as Islamic nations, and yet you don't see people blowing themselves up just because people don't believe in Yahweh. They call their God Allah instead, but Catholics don't really do that. I guess there was this one terrorist organization that is an exception to that who blew up abortion clinics in the U.S. in the 90s, I think. But other than that, I can't really think of too many Catholic terrorists.
I know they stink. They need to recruit. They need to step up their game. What annoyed me yesterday was already people will put up posts, and I saw on Facebook this one guy. He puts up this post of supposedly there was another guy. It was of course some a white guy who had a bunch of guns, dressed in guns, grenades, set to the nines, and this is an ongoing investigation. And the thing is, everybody knew this guy was a weirdo. Everybody said neighbors were saying he was acting very weird, and they called it in, and he got caught before he did any destruction, and people were like, well, let's all pick on the dirty Muslims, right? And I'm like, are you fucking nuts? Let's pick on the dirty Muslim. He just killed 50 fucking people. Brussels fucking slaughtered people. In France, they slaughtered people. A couple years ago in Britain, they slaughtered fucking people. This one loon that, he wanted to get caught. This is known as we've all had these people in our lives where you go, that guy's a fucking weirdo. And they end up getting caught because they kind of want to get caught. So this white guy that they're like, oh, thank goodness he didn't, it's always the Muslims, but it's kind of like they wanted this guy to go and kill people. It's like, don't blame the Muslims. And I'm like, are you fucking insane? 50 people, not even 24 hours ago, were butchered, absolutely butchered. And you bring up this loser that was dressed up in camouflage, on his way to the gay pride parade, who was never going to pull out a gun. I guarantee you, he wasn't. This guy was purposely doing everything in his power to get caught. Okay, so he gets caught because he's fucking crazy. Okay, and people are already going, well, it's not all Muslims. There's white people too are crazy. And when you do that, you're taking away from the insane religion of Islam, which is insane. To tell people they're going to get 72 virgins, or to tell people this is this is the way to go. It's a better life than this, and we keep saying, well, this is an isolated incident. This is isolated. Don't worry about it. This has been going on. This is in Pakistan. A month ago, there were over 50, 75 people butchered, blown to shit. This is all over the world. This is going on. For some reason, in the States, there are these fucking people that, it's funny. Like, you stick up for the homosexual and the women that would be raped and treated like cattle, and it's these fucking people that say, well, we can't call them all. They're all bad. Of course, they're not all bad. Of course. I'm not saying they're all bad, but there is a population of them. There's that 15 to 20% that would love to see Sharia law throughout the U.S., the rest of the world. The meaning of their religion is to what's the word? To submit to Islam. They want us to submit to Islam. Well, that's not what's going to happen. And they've gone by the way of the sword. Okay, so if they're not going to teach you by the book, they'll go by the way of the sword. So they will blow up innocent people. They will do this. They will do that. Are there on the news right now, if you turn on the news, are there Muslims on the news right now saying, we've got to stop this. This is no more. Not at our mosque. We are not going to have our teachers or whatever tell people this is the way to get the religion out, to teach people, kill the infidels. I mean, this has been going on in mosques where in England they finally got rid of the fucking idiot that would literally on television camera go on, and he would tell people going, we are going to take over England. We are going to take over this country. And I'm like, why is he in the country? Why is he not thrown out of the country and back from that shithole from which he came from?
Yeah, the thing is, to begin with, it's actually more than the 10 to 15% you mentioned.
No, I know. I'm being very, very low.
You're being very low. When you look at Pew studies, you find that actually at least half of the world's Muslim population support Sharia law.
Yes,
and
I've heard that.
Actually, as many as depends on the country, of course, but on average, I think you have as many as 10% of the world's Muslim population who actually downright support terrorist actions. So that means that 10% of the world's Muslim population think it's good that people blow themselves up and kill innocent people because that's spreading Islam.
Right.
And at least half of all the world's Muslims are benevolent to those actions in some manner. Maybe not support them, but they will not condemn it either. And you can tell that Islam is not this unfairly targeted religion by any means, because when these bombings of abortion clinics happened in the U.S., you had Catholics who denounced these actions,
yes,
called them abhorrent, and they said that yes, we don't support abortion, but we definitely do not support this. This goes against democracy. This goes against Christian values. Blah 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 blah.
You're killing life.
And
You're going out and killing other people. You're killing others. Fuck. It's what? Like, that's what's so black and white about it. Like, don't you understand what you're doing? You're fucking killing people. In the name of what? Allah? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? If Allah was so powerful, he wouldn't need you, you idiot. Let him do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm definitely not part of this alt-right storm fag internet phenomenon that exists. The kind of pseudo Nazis who seem to think that there's this Islamic wave coming, and Islam is going to be this serious threat to the West. It's not, but Islam is a serious concern. However, it is something you need to contend with, and you need to be careful when you bring in refugees or immigrants from Islamic nations. I hate to say this, but you need to restrict it down to a certain level, and you need to make sure that these Muslims who come into a country, you need to make sure that they cannot in any way segregate themselves. You need to make sure that they can't just pick and choose where to live, because they usually live where other people speak their language and share their religion. It's just human nature. In order to integrate these people and make sure that they learn Western values, you need to make sure that you don't segregate these people.
Right.
And that's the problem here in Sweden and in Britain and in
but here's
many
the thing.
European countries.
I totally agree with you, but the problem is you can't integrate. Like, if you sat there, think of it this way. A football game. Okay, for a fact, if Sweden is playing England, they will, as soon as you go to the gate, they'll integrate you. Like, they'll say, we're not going to put the Swede in the middle of a bunch of English players, English fans, because he could get killed. Like, the fans are fucking crazy, right? So we will put the Swedish guy with the Swedish people and the English with the English, and that's the way it is. Now, that works for 2 hours. Think of that 2 hours going on forever, okay? So you take Muslims and do that, say, no, you got to move here, move here, move here. They won't. They'll sit there and go, no, we want our own culture, which I totally understand. I get it. You speak your culture, or you want your culture there. But for some reason, I could go to the Polish area where I live, where it's all Poles, or I could go to Chinatown and totally feel safe, totally feel like everything's cool, like it's Chinatown. There's nothing. But when Muslims take a certain area, for some reason, it becomes very hostile. It becomes a place where you're not safe. Bad things happen. I'm sorry, they do. I mean, there's that famous place. I mean, Sweden fucked up by having a whole bunch in one area where they've taken, the cops won't even go there. I mean, it's like Sweden. You take a beautiful country like Sweden and put shit in it like that. And it absolutely is heartbreaking. Okay? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you have Swedish fathers saying, if my daughter gets raped by these fucking animals, I'm going to kill you, the government. Okay? I mean, you've put me in a position now, and I totally agree with that. You've put me in a position where I will fucking kill somebody because you're not doing your job to protect us. Our country. You have now put us in the middle of the shit, okay? And bringing in garbage and guys that don't want to go to work, that just sit around, watch these fucking stupid, hang out at the mosque. It's hilarious. They go to the country. They hate the country that's feeding them. They can't stand the people. They're getting welfare checks. They're making a lot of money doing nothing, okay? But yet they hate you. I mean, try and do that in Abu Dhabi and other countries, in Middle Eastern countries. You would get nothing, okay? You wouldn't even get through the fucking border, okay?
No. The thing is, when it comes to this issue, that's why you need to make sure that you take in only a certain amount of Muslim immigration into a country. You need to make sure that it's a small percentage, and it needs to be very small amounts and a manageable amount. You can't have these episodes where you're taking a lot.
Well, look at
And
Germany.
it needs to be a slow stream of people, because we know that if you take Muslims and you place them, essentially forcing them to integrate with the Western society in the country that they come to, and you make sure that you spread them out, so it's actually hard for them to find people who come from the same culture as they do. Uh, they are forced to integrate, and that works. That really works. The problem in Sweden is that for a long time, these people have essentially been able to pick and choose where to live when they get into the country, and that's created these areas where you now have no-go zones for the police, because if they come here, they will be pelted with rocks,
I know, and
and it's fucking idiotic, and it's ruined this amazing country. And I mean, the thing is, people often joke about me living here in Sweden, but let me tell you one thing. I actually am glad that I live here, because we have a lot of good things. We have universal health care, and we have a welfare system that's is essentially very good, because it takes care of people who can't work because they have cancer, perhaps. We have we have very good daycare services. Uh, we have a lot of things here to be proud of. I mean, road safety is among the highest in the world. Like our roads, when you drive on our roads, like we put new pavement every 3 years or so. So it's very smooth when you drive here. It's unbelievable. So you won't really find any potholes here. Like, our tax money goes to a lot of good things. We don't have as much corruption and bureaucracy as you have in the States. But that being said, the problem with Sweden is not really the systems we have here. The problem is some of the people. And the problem is that you now have these areas of people who refuse to integrate, because they've grown up in an area where most people talk their language, where most people think like they do. Uh, the thing is, in a lot of schools in Sweden, if you as a Swedish parent send your kids to these schools, the risk is that those kids will learn to speak with an accent, because there are so many immigrants' children in these classes. In some schools, they are the majority. So what happens when you send Swedish kids in there? Well, they pick up the accents. So even though they are 100% legitimately Swedish, they will speak with a fucking accent. It's fucking unbelievable. But it's happening here because we weren't careful when it came to this. I mean, we've done a lot of good things, and in a lot of ways, Sweden is still superior to a lot of countries. But that being said, we did do a really stupid thing when it came to this. Now, I do have to stress another thing also. Like, you mentioned the whole rape thing. The rape stats are inflated. I have to point this out to anyone who's listening. We are not the rape capital of the world, and it's not like we've had this huge spike all of a sudden. It's been a bit of a spike, but it's not huge. The rape stats are inflated by feminists.
right.
And that's something you need to keep in mind. Now, it is true, however, it is true that the majority of people who commit rapes here are indeed Muslims in consideration to their actual population size. In that way, they are very much overrepresented. But it's not like you as a woman just walking here is going to get raped.
Right. No, yeah, no, I understand. No, I get that. It's just when there was a problem going on there, what I meant was where I would see how the Swedish people were upset by what was going on, and they would go to town meetings, and fathers would get up and say, "Listen, if anything happens to my daughter, because something's not right here, okay? My daughter does not feel safe. I don't feel safe letting my daughter walk these streets anymore, not when it's like this." And that was the big concern, saying if anything were to happen to my daughter, shit's gonna hit. Bad things are gonna happen. I'm not gonna sit down and say, oh, things happen. No, that's not what's gonna happen. So you had people, concerned. I mean, I would be concerned. I would totally be concerned sitting there saying, watching, watching these atrocities on TV. I mean, you're watching, what was it, France Cologne, where over 1,000 women were groped and raped in one night.
Oh well.
I mean,
here's the thing when it comes to Cologne. That's another thing that was because when the reports first came out, and you have to consider that they were blackened the first time period. Like the German media would not report on the whole Cologne incident until I think 5 days after the event. Like that's how PC Germany is. It's even more PC than Sweden, actually. But yeah, the thing is, when the story first broke, you had these very, very unbelievable tales when it came to Cologne. You had people saying that it was 1,000 migrants who tried to rape and they fondled women sexually and blah, blah, blah. Turned out that it was actually more like 30 who actually did this.
Right.
And there's also only one case in Cologne of an actual attempted rape. The rest are fondling and sexual harassment, but it's actually only one case that is an attempted rape. But that being said, though, it's still horrifying because these people did get into the country and they did sort of fly under the radar.
Right.
So even though it has definitely been exaggerated, this whole event in Cologne, it's still something that you should be worried about because it does show that the German police, for instance, just doesn't know what kind of people have come into the country, and they weren't prepared for even 30 people acting this way.
Yeah, they were showing. I watched some video where the police just looked stunned, like they were just like they just kept running up to people and saying, "Stop doing that, stop it," which was really like it was just weird. Like I totally get it. I would be absolutely stunned by the behavior of people, out in broad day. Well, it wasn't daylight. It was just before New Year's. Just the behavior of people. I mean, fuck, I get it. You get a couple drinks on you, but they don't even drink. Like, well,
no, we don't. And the thing is, when it comes to Cologne, a lot of these events where these migrants will act, commit sexual harassment and try and grope women, even try to rape them. What you need to remember is that I hear these people again, usually from the alternative right. They are just as bad as the social justice warriors, mind you. And they try and claim that the feminists they talk of a rape culture, but here we have an actual rape culture, blah blah blah. No, not really. Rape isn't something that's taken easy even in Islamic countries. I mean, if you rape a woman in an Islamic country, you might very well be beheaded.
Yeah.
Like that, they take rape very fucking seriously in Islamic countries. The reason these migrants do this is not because they are Muslims per se. It's rather that they know that in these countries, the worst thing that's going to happen is that they will probably be deported. Like they know they're not going to face any punishment. So you have a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths who know that they're probably not going to be punished. So of course they are opportunistic. Like they do this because they know they can get away with it. It's not really that they're Muslims per se in these cases. So yeah, it's not like Islam is an actual rape culture, which I hear some people say, which is just fucking ridiculous.
No, you're gonna. It's like, let me get this straight. In my country, if I rob a bank, they could take my head off. If I rob a bank over there, they'll deport me back to my country.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? I mean, I'm like, okay, you're giving me a free pass here, guys.
Yeah. What you need to remember, though, is in a lot of countries, if you travel there and you rob a bank, you will still sit in their prison before you're sent home. The thing is, though, when it comes to a lot of these countries like Germany and Sweden, you will probably not even be punished first. Like, you will just be sent home, or the country that you claim you come from. So that's really the big problem here. These people usually know that they essentially have diplomatic immunity. The worst thing that's going to happen is that they might spend a night in jail, and in a few months later, they might be deported back. Like that. That's it. And that's why you have these events. And you've had these events even before the migrant crisis. It's just they were so rare because you didn't have the same amount of migrants coming in. But now that you have so many migrants coming in, just the sheer volume, of course, the likelihood of these events happening is going to be greater, and that's why you see these stories all the time now, because you have millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of migrants who come into Europe, and they know that they're probably not going to be punished. Not really. They're just going to be sent back at the worst.
Right.
So yeah, of course, some of them are going to take the opportunity to try and rape women or fondle them or act like jerks.
And what do you see as what do you think the solution could be, if there is one?
Okay, for first of all, actually keep these people from coming in. Like the reason they come here is because they know that they can exploit the welfare system. Even in Germany, where it's still a lot more austerity than here in Sweden, you still find that these people come here and they exploit the system basically. Can you hold on for a second? I'm
Sure.
just going to close my door.
Door is far away. Where the fuck's the door? In Denmark? Wow, that's I thought they had tiny houses in Sweden. He's literally gone. He's gone to close a door. He'll be back. They always come back. Fuck, maybe he got lost. Maybe he fell. Maybe he fell on the way to close that door. I hope he's all right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I
My
was
my family came. Uh, so you will probably just have to cut out that part.
no, I
Um,
probably won't.
will probably be the first time you edit something, but
No, I like keeping it because it's just well, I don't know. We'll see. But um, yeah. So, what do you think the solution, if there is one?
you know, basically, don't be too generous to people you don't know. The welfare system is a great thing about Sweden, for instance. I'm very glad that we have it, but it's too easy to exploit if you don't even have identification, proper identification. And 80% of the migrants who are moving in Europe at the moment aren't even Syrians. I mean, I don't have a problem with Syrian refugees. They're refugees. They need to seek shelter. I have no problem helping them. But 80% of the so-called refugees in the media are actually from countries such as Afghanistan, and it's been calm there now for almost 10 years.
Yeah. So why are they there?
There's no objective reason for them to come here. The prime minister of Afghanistan even said, like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, come back here. We need you." And the reason they come here is because there is this military conflict right now between factions, as well as between ISIS in Syria, and they are exploiting it to try and sneak into the countries, and hopefully they will stay. But yeah, but basically that's step number one. Just take away all the perks. Like, if they come here, they will realize that, oh, we didn't hit the gravy train after all. Like, we are expected to work. Oh shit! Like, I better go back. That this wasn't the dream that I thought of.
Yeah.
And the second step is to simply look up these people, keep them from entering society until you know who they are. And once they've reached society, when the military conflict is over, by force, remove them. Like the whole point of taking in refugees is that as a refugee, you're supposed to stay until it's calm. When it's calm, you're supposed to leave.
Yeah.
You're not an immigrant. You're a refugee.
It's like a dinner. It's like a dinner party. It's like, guess what? Once it's done, you got to get in the car and go home. No matter how much you like their swimming pool, you got to go.
Yeah, and it's sort of like spitting in the face of people who show incredible hospitality. And when you look at Sweden's population size, our country has been the most generous country, I think, out of them all. I think second place comes Germany. And we have taken in most people in accordance to our native population, and we are at the limit now. We can't take in anymore.
How many?
I think it's sad because, for instance, you have a huge starvation going on in Africa at the moment, and if there's any people that would deserve to come here as refugees, it's those people. But we can't now because we've taken in so many people we thought were Syrians but turned out to be Afghanis.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, people could say I'm mean or an asshole, but once their conflict is over, I would get as many Greyhound buses as possible. I'm serious. I would load them in and just say, okay, here's a fucking sandwich. Enjoy. Go home. Go home. Go take care of home. I mean, like, sorry, but you're not going to fuck up my country. Sorry. You fucked up your own. I mean, why is it, they sit there and go, the Muslim Brotherhood, we take care of our own. No, they don't. Not at all. I don't see.
No, the Muslim country. I mean, look, if you take a look at the Middle East, for instance, all of the rich Middle Eastern countries, such as Saudi Arabia, they haven't taken in anybody.
No, because they know it's a fucking. They know what problems they're gonna have. They know. Fuck, are you kidding me?
Actually, they would have lesser problems because these people essentially, to a large extent, have the same culture and the same cultural values in many ways. They would actually be better off in those countries, I think, than to come here to Europe where we
Sandre,
have
they don't want them.
Clash.
They don't want them. They don't want them. That's
quite telling, isn't it?
that's got to tell you. That's got to tell you something. When your own fucking brotherhood just says, don't come here, but keep praying 5 times a day to Allah and blah blah blah. But you're not gonna fuck up my, I don't want you to come here and scratch my Mercedes. My yacht can only accommodate 150 people, not 2,000. There's 5 of us on this fucking boat. No way. Where the hell is the white captain supposed to stay? He's not sharing quarters. I mean, they don't want them, period. Okay? So that's got to tell you something. This spread of Islam has been nothing but other countries that have felt this have not had good experiences. They haven't sat there. I haven't seen one country sit there and say, this is the best. This is wonderful. Oh, this is a dream. They've all said the same thing. This is a fucking nightmare. They've crippled our system. They are bleeding us fucking dry. Okay? Germany is at the brink of Merkel. She's completely, if Hitler was alive right now, he'd die of an aneurysm. If he was alive, he would just open up his eyes. They'd show him the news, and he'd just go, "Okay, get me the gun," and he would just end it. Okay. He would just say, fuck, this is a problem that I can't even fix, okay? Even with my malicious, evil ways of doing things, I couldn't even, I don't even want to touch this shit. This is insane. How can you have your country destroyed from the inside out. Okay? You are losing your country. You're losing your way of life to people that don't give a fuck about you and your way of life. Okay? It's like going to another country. I never understood this. Why go to another country and you don't and live there? If I move to uh, Germany, if I move there, within 2 years, I'm going to speak German. I'm going to do everything in my power to integrate. Okay? When I go out, I don't want to ask a person at the subway or whatever and use broken English. I don't want that. I want to learn the country. If this is where I'm staying, I'm going to learn it. What do they eat? I'm going to eat this shit too. I'm going to, I'll bring in my own food too, but I'm going to integrate. I'm going to do everything in my power so when people see me, they'll say, hey, it's Vito the German, whatever. He came from Canada. Now he speaks full-blooded German, whatever. His favorite team is Ajax, whatever. Okay? These people don't even want to do that. They will never pick up the language, could give two shits about the language, give a fuck about the culture, nothing. It's like they walk around like ghosts, absolute ghosts, and we sit there and watch this take place. And the PC culture is the worst. Like, I feel like why weren't they at the nightclub when they got shot? Why weren't they get rid of them? Like, put them in a fucking nightclub, call up Mohammed Mohi or whatever and say, these fucking losers are here. Do that voodoo that you do so well, okay? Get rid of these fucking guys so then we could get rid of you without a problem. That's the only solution I could see. The only solution.
No, I agree with you, and I mean it's just common sense. If I move to Spain, I'm expected to learn Spanish, and still you have people who come here and they can live here for 5 years and they will still speak very broken Swedish. And it's because we have these very segregated areas where they don't have to particularly learn the Swedish language. They will do just fine speaking their own native language, and that's just fucking moronic when you think about it.
Now picture a man that's owned a store there, and this is a true story. He owned a store there. It used to be his father's and his grandfather. For 40 years, he's had this shop. Okay, for over 40 years. Then all these migrants come in. They don't shop at his store. People that go to his store don't feel safe because they hang out outside of his fucking store. Okay? Guess what? He closes his doors. Not because of business is slow, because nobody wants his business. Okay? That is so wrong to do that to somebody. Your own countrymen. You've choked to death your own countrymen. Okay? This is what you do. This is what you do. This is how you rather kill your dad than feed a fucking dog? I'm sorry to use that analogy, but come on. If your father owned a store and your livelihood was through that store and he's had it for years, nobody goes to that store anymore because he goes, Sandre, we don't feel safe in that area. We just don't want, I'm sorry, we just won't go there. Well, guess what? You're out of luck. Guess what? You're going on welfare. The father that was, for him it was a pride thing, not to be on welfare, to work, to do that. What can he do? What can he do? Nothing. A place where he grew up is now changed into a fucking shithole. Do you know how that's got to play on his soul, on his livelihood, on people around him? But they don't think of it that way. They just think, no, we've turned into this in Canada the same way. We got this mentally challenged, nothing like his father, Trudeau. We elected a mentally challenged person, okay, and we did, and it's the States had the first black guy. Now they're going to have the first woman president, And Canada is going to have the first mentally challenged, does have the first mentally challenged prime minister in the world. That is guaranteed. This imbecile is going to do the same thing that has happened to Sweden and Germany of just letting the asylum run the place. And it doesn't work. Like you ever see The Daily Show? Do you ever watch that show, The Daily Show?
Yeah, I've seen it. It used to be.
It used to be funny.
Jon Stewart.
Yes, it used to be funny when they had funny people on, but now they want colors of the rainbow. They have the host whose family came from a Muslim country, who now is telling us how to live, and aren't we ridiculous? And I'm like, buddy, your parents were fucking were they not in Sharia law? Did they not live in this oppressed society? I mean, you want to be funny? Go back to fucking India or wherever the fuck you came from. Go be funny there, because you're not funny here. You know, like don't for some reason we always change our society to accommodate others, which is just so fucking wrong. It's just it's like the dumbest. It's a way of killing your own culture from the inside. Let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That worked in the 70s. Okay? That was fucking 45 years ago. It's done. No more. Like these.
Back then, you could actually hug someone and them not explode in your face.
Right. Back then, I mean, you don't see the Chinese doing this. I don't see Mexicans that are dying to come over the border, that want jobs or whatever. I don't see a Mexican guy blowing himself up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, going, this is for the Pope. Like, I just don't see that. It does. You know why? Because it doesn't happen. Because no Mexican guy, if you said to him, "Go, do you get 72 virgins?" He'll sit there and go, "Fuck off." No, really, Jose, you'll get 72 virgins. Go fuck yourself. He'd never believe you. But these Muslims have been brainwashed so much from such an early age, brainwashed to sit there and say, this life is not important. You understand? Your life right now, which your life is very important. Okay? Your life is very important. Okay? And they are told your life is not important. It's what you do in the next life. And it's just and what you do now will pay dividends. It's like the old, it's the Greeks, the old way of when you die, you got to take gold with you to pay death. So then that way, you have money and you could make it to paradise. And it's like you got to buy your way into Allah's kingdom by, hey, he loves you the most because you killed the most. You killed innocent people. You blew some kid's fucking head off. Other person the rest of their life are not going to have any legs, any eyes, maybe deaf, from pain and suffering. You've caused thousands upon thousands of people. People have lost brothers, lovers, sisters, and that doesn't. You don't think about that. You don't think about what your actions will do. No, it's not this life. It's the next life. They should have been in a mosque. Are you out of your fucking mind? I'm sick of this PC. There's a couple crazy white people too. You don't know. The one guy put up the KKK. The KKK. These guys, the KKK to me are just a bunch of rednecks that hate colored people. That's it. That's all. They
aren't exactly the threat they used to be. I
no.
mean, there was a time when the KKK was a legitimate threat to national security. You even had a president who was a Klansman. Right,
but that's the times. Those were the times. If you think about what it was back then, you had people. That was just the behavior. When Rome was in charge of the planet and they beat Gaul, there were white people there. He just said these are slaves. You know, they're that's just the way they are. They're just that's just the culture at that time. And that whole slave thing, they had white slaves. The white slaves would get worked fucking harder because a white slave would only be around for 7 years. The black slave you would have, you wouldn't let him do dangerous. Well, you wouldn't want him to die compared to the white guy because the white guy's only around for 7 years. Once he's done.
The thing is, the word slave comes from the Slavic people.
Right, yes, which
very,
very, very white people. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, and people go, when people say that, they go, well, you know, the Crusades. And I feel like going, do you know why the Crusades happened? The Crusades happened because the Muslims took it too far. And there were hundreds of years of where Europe was ravaged by Muslims, and they finally put steel in their back and said, fuck this, we're not going to do this anymore, and fought back. Those were the Crusades, to get rid of the Muslims. Okay, that's, you know, when people go, wow, what about the Crusades? It's like, you really are an idiot. You know, you really are some PC eunuch fucking idiot. That really you see the world as black and white, and it's not black and white. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, and another thing about the Crusades, and here's the sad thing. I think that most of the Muslims who fought in the Crusades were actually trained soldiers, but when it came to most people in the Crusades who were Christian, they were just ordinary farmers who were very badly equipped, very badly trained, and they were essentially just sacrificed so the knights of the Temple's Watch, for instance, would be able to return home with a great story because he hadn't actually participated too much in the battle.
Right.
So yeah, that's another example of how people just the peasants are exploited to do the wealthy's bidding. But yeah, the thing is, people don't understand, and it's not like I have this thing for just Islam. I don't care about your beliefs. I really don't. But I do care about your actions.
Said.
If you were to see Buddhists, not pour gasoline on themselves and setting themselves on fire, but to pour, gasoline on others and setting them on fire, you would see me be fucking livid about it. I would make, all kinds of videos about it. I would condemn those actions
yes.
too. But it's so convenient these days to just call someone an Islamophobe just because they will not tolerate that people blow themselves up in the name of their imaginary friend.
Yes. Well said. Listen, we're going to do this again. Tell me about the show, when's it on, and what to look forward to. And this is the Wrecking Crew, and we've been talking to Sandre from Sweden, who has a very popular YouTube channel. Sandre, tell us what's up for the show. What do you got lined up? And can people follow you on Twitter? Give me your Twitter.
Yeah, it's at the Sandre Guy. It's the same thing as it's just no spaces between the words. Just at the Sandre Guy.
Okay.
Yeah, the show. The thing about them is that they are naturally chaotic. There's nothing to be planned really. Sometimes I will have some topic prepared to start with, but essentially it's just me being prepared for something you can't be prepared for, like to just trying to control the chaos. And I think that's an element as to why it's gotten popular. People like that, and they know that they can say anything, and I'm not gonna take badly by it. I mean, for fuck's sake, I tolerated a guy calling me a racist for 3 hours.
Why was he calling?
I still didn't kick him out.
Why was he calling you a racist?
Well, because if I walk in a rough neighborhood in the U.S., for instance, if I walk in a rough neighborhood and I see a black guy looking shifty coming towards me, I'm naturally going to be a little more alert.
Right.
If I see a white guy coming towards me and being and looking shifty.
Right.
Because I know the statistics. I know it's actually more likely that a black guy will do me harm than a white guy. And for that, I'm apparently a racist.
Right.
It's interesting how
Yeah.
people think.
It's yeah. I'm sorry. That's called common sense. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the way. I mean, I grew up in a pretty rough place in Toronto, where yeah, you would. I mean, these are people that have never been to neighborhoods like that or been to. They watch too many movies. They think there's a fucking rainbow, and you know what? Go to these places. You do it, and see what that's like. You know, the best. Um, I remember being in one of these neighborhoods where I had to walk with this really good-looking woman, and it was a buddy's girlfriend. And I'm like sitting there going, she's nervous, and I'm nervous because I'm going, I don't have anything on me. Usually I carry shit, but I don't got anything on me. And it's like you've got to make that look like, hey, I'm not gonna sit there and, I'll respect your space, but you got to know that I'm gonna take care of my space. And there's everything with the way you move your body, by the way you react, and hurry up and get the fuck out of there. Okay, that's just common sense because bad things will happen. I'm sorry, but that's just the world we live in. That's
yeah, but Vito. Don't you know? Black people are these angelic beings incapable of doing any wrong because slavery and shit.
No, I think the problem is I think the worst thing is they've been oppressed for so long. I get it, okay, but now it's getting to the point where some of them are milking it for way too much. Okay, like they'll go, "Why are there so many black people in prison? Huh? Why?
Because so many black people sell drugs, for
Yes,
instance.
exactly. And why? I remember talking to, it was one of these white mothers that had five black kids, which is nothing. Hey, cool. But of course, her husband left her, so whatever. And she's like, why are you yelling at my kid? It's because he's black. And I go, no, because he grabbed a bucket of paint and threw it all over my like parking lot, like where we come in and out. Somebody threw out paint, and he put fucking latex paint, so my tires would go over it, and it would end up in the car, and it was just that's why I yelled at him. Had nothing to do with him being black. No, it's because he's being black. This went on forever. Every fucking time something that had to do with him being black, and it's like, no, it's because your kid's a rotten fucking kid. Has nothing to do with him being black. It's just he's a rotten little.
He needs a mentor in his life to set him on
Yeah,
the
he
right
needs a
path.
dad that'll stick around, and that's what I told her. I go, I'm sorry, but you needed a man to stick around and smack the fuck out of him when he needed it, because because if I do it again, I'm just beating up a kid. I mean. When I was a kid and I was caught smoking, my friend's father caught us smoking. He beat the shit out of both of us. Now, that back then, fuck, these days are smoking crack, okay? I'm talking cigarettes. That was normal. I didn't go home and say, Dad, Serge's dad beat me up. My dad would just smack the shit out of me for smoking, So it's just a different time. These days, very different time. These days, if you yell at a kid, you're being an asshole. You're being and it's like
it's ridiculous.
It's
It
bad.
really is ridiculous.
This is a horrible way for everything. Sometimes I look at Islam and I think, sometimes they do things so fucking ass backwards, but there's other things that they do very right. Where if a kid is acting up, they'll give him a cuff. I think there's nothing wrong with giving a mouthy kid, a good smack. I think that's the way to go, because the way that child is going to grow up now is thinking there's no consequences to his actions. Okay?
No, I see your point.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. Believe me, it's barbaric, Okay, it's not the greatest, but I grew up in the 70s. Are you kidding me? Getting a smack was kind of normal. It was kind of the way it is these days. If you touch a kid, you're going to jail. And
I know, and
like
the thing is, it's better to do that than not to do anything at all, and the kid will end up in jail because nobody told him no.
Sandres, if you're yelling at him, he's smiling at you.
Yeah, I know. I've had those kids. I've been in the presence of those kids, and you feel like you want to strangle them.
Oh yeah, and they deserve a strangulation. Okay. The problem is we are cavemen. Okay. This has been going on for thousands and thousands of years, and then in the last 50 years, we're told, well, 20 years, no, it's wrong. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. And we've turned into fucking jellyfish. Fathers have turned into jellyfish. They don't have the power that they used to have. I'm not saying go home and beat the fuck out of your kids. That's not what I mean. If your kid is acting like an idiot, smack them. Believe me, it's good. Okay? That's what you got to do. If before your kid steals your fucking car and smashes it and kills himself and does something absolutely idiotic. Okay, you have to instill these things in your kids. Okay, it's called something that men have been doing for eons. Okay, that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, that's just the way we were made, and now we're being told can't behave that way. Can't stick up for women. Women will stick up for themselves. I'll stick up for a woman. What are you talking about? Don't stick up. Women don't like it if you're violent. I'll tell you something. When I beat somebody up, my wife gets wetter than a fucking, an oil slick, man. And she hates fights, but she knows I'm fighting for a reason. Okay. Something bad happened. You have to use your fists. Use your fists. Okay. But don't go around just fucking beating up people. There's a time and a place for it. Okay? And that's, as men, we're bred that way. That's what we are. And there's too many. The problem is there's too many males that would have died off by just being too jelly. You know what I mean? Like just they would have been killed just because. And now these guys are the guys that are in power that are telling you, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. And our society, you're very young. You have not seen it. But I've seen our society change. And it's sad. It's scary. Because you're sitting there saying, what's next? Every day I go, what the fuck is next? I knew that was going to happen in the States. I'm sorry. I knew. I've been saying it for the longest time that this is going to happen. And what broke my heart was hearing about, where people go, well, not all. Let's not all say all Islam is crazy or bad people. We're not saying that, you imbecile. But you do have a serious problem, and your problem is becoming our problem. Okay? And this has been going on far too long. Okay? So you fix it, or we're going to fix it our way. Okay? And if we fix it our way, you're not going to like our way of fixing it. Okay? And
no, you'll probably end up in a very fiery death as you are as you are bombed.
Yeah.
No, but the point is, I very much agree with you that there has been a sort of decline. I try and I try not to use that word too much because it's not like society has some set goals or anything. But that being said, I do think we had a period, the 50s, the 60s, the early 70s, and after that point, we've just been on a decline, more or less. But I think it's time to round this off, and I would like to say that the streams are on Saturdays at 7 p.m. GMT usually, and that's the British time standard.
Okay.
So that's the universal time standard. So 7 p.m. GMT, or UTC as it's also called.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. I'll have you back and we'll have that incompetent fuck on too. It'll,
Yeah, I would love that.
we'll get Grandpa Jones out here, and he'll tell us about the 50s. He'll tell us about the Roman times. He was there when they invented the wheel. I mean, he knows.
Oh yeah.
He knows this shit.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you. I've listened to your shows, and they are enjoyable. I try and listen to anybody that I have on. I always try and listen to their stuff because before anything, I am a fan. Anytime I talk to somebody,
thank you.
if you ever watch the show, you ever go, why is Vito arguing with this guy? I never have people that I just don't like. You know, I never understood that. And even if you're a Christian, and I've had Christians, I'm going to have an apologist. I think the main thing is just respect. Always have fun, but respect. There is a level of some respect. Okay. I want to know about you, what you do. I mean, we only covered an hour so far. That's just a scratch of your life. You know, that's nothing. Nobody knows your life, and I try and do these so people kind of have some idea of who you are. And I think my favorite thing in the world is listening to stories. You know, listening to how it is for you. It's so easy for me to sit here and say stuff, but you're there. You're my eyes and ears there in Sweden. You're my eyes to the world over there, and that is very important to me because I hate when I'm talking and people say, no, you got it wrong. Well, then I could always go to my source and say, well, my friend lives there. He told me. You know, unless he's fucking lying, he's in North Carolina jerking off right now. At least I know there's just this kind of this feeling of the world is big, but yet it's very small. As weird as that sounds, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I appreciate your time, Sandre. Please, sorry, please. Well, I'll have you back, and we'll have a funner topic than what we had. I hated that, but it just happened, and I just had to blow off some steam.
Might as well get it out of your system.
Might as well. I'll just go to the coffee shop and argue with some fucking homeless men right now. So, but I want to thank you, and have a good day, and we will talk again, okay?
It's been a pleasure.
Okay, folks, you're listening to the Wrecking Crew Comedy Podcast. I'm Vito D'Amico, and we were talking to my friend Sandre all the way from Sweden. Folks, subscribe, have fun, be safe, and be good to one another. Ciao.